The topic on which today I'm going to speak is molecular cloning. So first let's understand that what is molecular cloning. Molecular cloning is a basic technique in molecular biology and biotechnology laboratories. It is a very useful tool to study a gene, modify the gene, reintroduce the modified gene into a natural host or another host, or to produce protein. You can perform molecular cloning by incorporating a piece of DNA into a plasmid to make more identical recombinant DNA in a living host. Things to consider before you clone are the availability of your cloning materials, the goal of your research, and the difficulty level to perform your protocol. To begin with, you have to prepare some important materials for cloning. The first being the DNA fragment containing the desired genes to be cloned. The source of DNA fragment or the DNA insert can be a genomic DNA, a complementary DNA, plasmid DNA, PCR product, or a synthetic DNA. The DNA insert must contain particular sequences at the end of the fragments compatible with the prepared vector. You can add these particular sequences onto your DNA insert by PCR, followed by which we would need certain restriction enzyme and ligase enzymes. The third, we will come to vectors. Vectors to carry, maintain, and replicate clone gene in a host cell. I would like to introduce you to what exactly is a vector. A vector is a DNA molecule which can carry a DNA insert to generate a recombinant DNA and replicate in a particular host. Some examples of the vectors are cosmid. So a cosmid is basically a large DNA vector containing lambda phage DNA sequence. It can carry large DNA fragments up to 45 kilobases into the host. You can also use artificial chromosome, a large DNA vector which can perform functions of a chromosome. And finally, we can also take a plasmid vector, a small extra chromosomal circular DNA which can replicate in a cell, which is commonly used for cloning. Okay, and we would need a host cell. Host cell can also be called as competent cells. Like after a DNA fragment is incorporated into a plasmid vector, the next cloning steps is to perform a transformation step. In this transformation step, the recombinant DNA is introduced into the competent cell by chemical reaction or electroporation. Competent cells are cells which are temporarily permeable to the extracellular DNA. The host organisms which are commonly used in the laboratories are Escherichia coli and Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Now, let's look at the principle. So, the principle of molecular cloning is a fragment of DNA containing the gene to be cloned is inserted into a suitable vector to produce a recombinant DNA molecule. The vector acts as a vehicle that transports the gene into a host cell, usually a bacterium, although other types of living cells can be used. Within the host cell, the vector multiplies, produces numerous identical copies, not only of itself, but also of the gene that it carries. When the host cell divides, copies of the recombinant DNA molecule are passed to the progeny and further vector replication takes place. After a large number of cell divisions, a colony or clone of identical host cell is produced. Each cell in the clone contains one or more copies of the recombinant DNA molecule. The gene carried by the recombinant molecule is now said to be cloned. Now, let's for once look at the elements of the plasmid vector. So, it consists of an ORI, that is origin of replication, a required sequence or element on the plasmid for its replication. Then, it needs a selectable marker, a required element for cloning to the select a host, which carries the DNA construct. The only host cell growing in the growth medium containing a particular selective agent has the DNA construct with selectable marker inside the cell. For example, the selectable markers in the DNA construct often contain antibiotic resistant genes. A transformed host has the antibiotic resistance gene on the DNA construct. Therefore, it can grow in the medium with the particular antibiotic. On the other hand, the host cell without a DNA construct cannot survive in the selective medium. The next thing it needs is a multiple cloning site, an element of the plasmid fragment which contains restriction enzyme sites to allow the DNA insertion. Compatible restriction enzymes cut on the MCS of the plasmid and the DNA insert during preparation of step of cloning. Next you need is a promoter region, a region which drives the protein expression of the cloned DNA, followed by which we need a protein tag, a particular sequence which produces a protein with specific function and it is usually attached to the recombinant protein. An example of protein tag is luciferase or GFP to monitor or quantify the protein. Finally, you need a polyadenylation site, an element containing poly A, which is important to produce a protein. Now, we will see how we can see the bacterial selection, which we understood that the selectable marker actually shows us. So, the plasmid vector will carry specific antibiotic resistant genes. These genes allow the researchers to detect whether the bacterial cell took up the plasmid with their gene of interest or not by plating the bacteria on the media containing the specific antibiotics. Now we can see two cases. The first case shows that the organisms have not grown. So the cells that do not take up the plasmid will not have antibiotic resistance. When plated on the dish that contains an antibiotic, the cells will not survive and will not grow. Second case, we'll see that the cells that have taken the plasmid will have a resistance to the specific antibiotics, whichever the resistance gene specifies. When placed on the dish with that specific antibiotics, the cell with the plasmid will grow. Now, cloning methods. So there are several cloning methods. There are several different approaches to clone and you will need to find the right approach for your research. Below are some of the popular cloning methods that generate a recombinant DNA construct. First being restriction enzyme based cloning, second PCR cloning, third ligation independent cloning, seamless cloning and recombinantly cloning. Let's look at the first one, which is the restriction enzyme based cloning. Restriction enzymes are enzymes which cut DNA near a specific short nucleotide sequence called a restriction site. The restriction enzyme based cloning method depends on the activity of the restriction enzymes to cut both vector and the DNA insert, and the method also depends on DNA ligase to paste the DNA fragment into the vector. This method is useful when you have one DNA insert to incorporate into the plasmid. By using PCR, you can add restriction enzyme sites on your DNA insert to accommodate this method. Your DNA insert must not contain an internal restriction site similar to the restriction site on the plasmid. Your restriction enzyme can cut your DNA insert at this internal restriction site and produce unwanted smaller pieces of DNA fragments, which we obviously don't want. You can choose to use restriction enzymes or two enzymes to cut the DNA fragment and vector. When using two enzymes, both enzymes must be compatible or work well in the same time in the restriction enzyme buffer. So you can clearly see in the diagram too that the restriction enzyme digests the particular part, then the recombinant DNA via the vector is combined with it and the transformation takes place. The next we will be looking at is PCR cloning. PCR cloning relies on a process called ligation, which is a method of inserting a DNA fragment into a vector using DNA ligase. The reason ligation is important for this step is because it is responsible for inserting the PCR product into the TA-tailed plasmid. PCR amplified inserts contain an adenine residue at the 3' end of the DNA fragments, A-tailed ends. A T-tailed plasmid vector has a single 3' deoxythymidine at each end of the arms of linearized plasmid. Therefore, these PCR products can be ligated into T-tailed vectors using DNA ligase, and the step is followed by transformation. You can choose this method when your restriction enzymes are not compatible or you find an internal restriction enzyme site in your DNA insert. One disadvantage of this method is you will need a specific T-tailed vector to perform PCR cloning, but T-tailed vectors may not have supportive elements for your protein research, such as promoter region or protein tag. Next, we will look at the ligation independent cloning. Ligation independent cloning is performed by generating short sequences at the end of the DNA insert that match to the short sequences of the plasmid vector. Enzymes with 3' to 5' exonuclease activity chew the 3' end and generate a cohesive end between the DNA fragment and the linearized vector. The two materials are then combined for annealing step. During transformation, the host organism repairs the nicks on the recombinant DNA. The advantage of this method is it won't create any new restriction sites or unwanted sequences in the final DNA construct. Once we have understood these, we will next go to the seamless cloning method. The seamless cloning technique, similar to the ligation independent cloning, depends on matching short sequences at the end of the DNA fragment to the short sequences on the plasmid vector. Seamless cloning method requires enzymes with 5' to 3' exonuclease activity to create 3' overhangs, a DNA polymerase to fill in gaps, and the DNA ligase to seal the nicks. The advantage of ligation independent cloning and seamless cloning over the restriction enzyme based cloning is it allows insertion of more than one DNA fragment into a vector. In addition, when you find an internal restriction enzyme site on your DNA fragment, you can use ligation independent cloning or seamless cloning as an optional cloning method. And the last one of the all the popular cloning methods we are seeing is recombinant cloning. This method requires site-specific DNA recombinase enzymes which exchange and recombine DNA pieces with particular recombination style. The first step in the method is to insert a DNA fragment into a entry vector, generating an entry clone. Another way to create an entry clone is by swapping and recombining a donor vector into an entry clone. After creating an entry clone, the next step is to swap and recombine the entry clone into a destination clone. To definite of this approach is it can be used to place more than 5 elements in a single vector. It is commonly used to identify protein binding interaction or to optimize protein expression, purification, and solubility. To perform this method, you will need a particular plasmid which has recombinant sites. Thank you. Via this PPT, I have tried to explain about 5 molecular cloning methods which are commonly used by researchers. Molecular cloning has been used for many different purposes in a variety of research fields. In agriculture, cloning can shorten the time required to insert and develop a new beneficial trait in crops, such as drought tolerant trait or pest resistant trait. On the other hand, molecular cloning can be used to produce therapeutic proteins such as clot dissolving proteins and interferon, or to synthesize other useful proteins such as insulin, growth hormones, and monoclonal antibodies. Overall, the application of molecular cloning continues to improve and create a remarkable development in the field of agriculture, pharmaceutical industry, and biomedical research. I hope everyone liked my PPT. Thank you.